Welcome, everyone. We're delighted to have such a large turnout for the first Carter Burgess Lecture for the Foreign Policy Association. Sheila and I take great pleasure in using this forum to honor and recognize Carter Burgess. I met Carter when I was 30 years old, and he gave me one of the greatest gifts that anybody could by choosing to be my mentor. I didn't ask him. He just chose and took on the role and continued it in that capacity for a number of decades. And from that, I gained a great deal of appreciation for him, and that's what led to our wanting to sponsor this lectureship. I also want to recognize his daughters and son who are here tonight for the first lecture. He has 5 children, and 4 of them are here: Jane Kelly, Beth Smith, Nan Burgess, and her daughter May Gardner, and Carter Burgess Jr., plus spouses and other relatives totaling a number, at least 12, last count that I had. And thank you all for being here for this initial lecture. Just a couple of comments about Carter Burgess. FPA owes a great debt to Carter. He joined the board in 1972. In 1974, he was drafted to become both the chairman of the board and the president for $1 a year. FBA was in deep trouble. It had a very large debt and faltering programs. In 6 years that he served in that capacity, he restored FPA. He retired the debt. FPA in that period of time had more distinguished speakers, including heads of state, than in any comparable period of time. He expanded the coverage of FPA and got me and others involved in founding the World Affairs Council in Washington, D.C. And he revitalized the board with a number of distinguished individuals who carried FPA forward in the ensuing years. He stepped down in 1980 and continued to serve in the FPA board, totaling 17 years. But his role in the nonprofit world is just part of Carter Burgess' distinguished career. The other 2 pillars are government and business. In government, he was of the greatest generation as described by Tom Brokaw in his book. During World War II, he rose to become Secretary of the General Staff to General Eisenhower, and one of his assignments in that capacity was to travel from London to North Africa to inform General de Gaulle that the invasion of Normandy would be occurring very, very shortly. After World War II, he became involved with the creation of the United Nations. He was the Deputy Secretary of the U.S. delegation to San Francisco, which created the United Nations. He then served a number of years as Special Assistant to Secretary of State George Marshall. During the Eisenhower administration, he served as Assistant Secretary of Defense, and during the Johnson administration, he served as Ambassador to Argentina. The third pillar of his career was business. In the 1950s, he was president of TWA at a time that it was owned by the legendary Howard Hughes. He was president of American Machine and Foundry, I think today known as AMF. He was the first CEO of the National Corporation of Housing Partnerships, and he served as a director of many corporations, including J.P. Morgan, Ford Motor Company, American Airlines, among others. As a person, he was an incomparable gentleman with unfailing charm. To me, he was a valued advisor and a cherished friend. Now, if Carter Burgess had been asked to prepare a list of speakers for us tonight, I am sure that General Anthony Zinni would be among those at the top of the list. General Zinni was well known and retired from the Marine Corps in the year 2000. But after collaborating with Tom Clancy to write Battle Ready, which came out last year, he has become a national celebrity. General Zinni served in the Marine Corps for 40 years, rising to 4-star general. He served all over the world, 2 tours of duty in Vietnam, and in addition to his direct military responsibilities, he served in many humanitarian and peacekeeping operations. I think when he retired, he was head of the Central Command. When he retired in the year 2000, he took on additional assignments for the United States government, the most notable of which he was Secretary of State Colin Powell's special envoy to the Middle East for a number of years. When I got the list of the decorations and awards that he had received, I realized I could spend his entire time reciting them, so I won't, but it's a gigantic list. Today, he is a board member of a number of major corporations, and he has held a number of academic positions. I will note 2 of them because they've taken place in the state of Virginia, and that would ignite Carter Burgess' heart. He held the Stanley Chair in Ethics at the Virginia Military Institute, and today he teaches at the College of William and Mary, where he lives. Following his remarks, General Zinni will take questions. There are 2 microphones. When he's done, if you would come down to the microphone, I will recognize you, will answer the questions. It is my great pleasure to welcome General Anthony Zinni to provide the first Carter Burgess Lecture to the Foreign Policy Association. General Zinni.